about 50 or more, with specific limits on foreign investment. They keep increasing the limits. So they engage, and the investments have been flowing in, and they keep opening them more. So Nigeria needs to open. Nigeria is very close to investment. The component of the plan that I feel most encouraged about is the ease of doing business. That's where you get specifics. That's I even saw being circulated this week, a 60-day action plan. That's good. That's commendable. To ease business, the business environment. That's the most, realistic, component of the plan. But beyond those who are already doing business in Nigeria, beyond those who already have opportunity to enter, Nigeria, most sectors that need attention are closed to foreign investment because they are government monopoly.
Okay, talking about that, let me see if we can bring Mr. Chukwu here. That area of closed sectors that are closed, I mean, the plan also talks about select privatization of some assets and corporations of government. Do you think that will help in any way to open up the sectors Mr. Teriba talked about?
You see, ideally, just like what we were saying when we were off line, that the involvement of the private sector is filled with a lot of glossy statements, but we couldn't see the details how they want to bring the private sector into it. They've mentioned in that plan they want to sell assets. The assets they want to sell are not defined. You may not even name the assets. You can define the criteria for an asset to qualify to be sold. Either it's not generating enough economic value, the cost of subsidizing its operation is higher than the revenue from it, it has minimal social value, or certainly will not disrupt the social benefit that is agreeable to the society. So you define that, or that it is not an exclusive asset, in the sense that certain asset that everybody must enjoy it, whether they have money or not. So those assets will naturally remain with the public sector in most instances. So if you define those criteria, on that basis, we can begin to itemize what assets will qualify. They say they want to sell assets. They were not clear about that. They mentioned the issue that we're going to reduce the importation of fuel by 60% in 2018. That we're going to work on the refineries. The refineries are dead. So anyone you throw into the refineries, we've been throwing money into the refinery for the past 20 years, and they never worked. When this government came in, the Minister of State for Petroleum was very clear about the options we had, and even defined timeline that if these refineries don't perform up to this percentage of production, that they will be sold. We'll reverse all those things. Any money we put into it will be wasted. So we are still on it again. So if you talk about the issue that we're going to be a net exporter of petroleum products by 2020, it's not clear whether the government is going to build refineries or we are banking on the Dangote refinery, which is an export refinery. Effectively, it's not in the country. Because an export, a refinery built an export-free trade zone is not really an asset within your customs zone. So we can't regard that as, if Dangote exports to other country, we can't say it's exporting, we're beginning to export petroleum products. So we need to define, what are we banking on? It takes, for you to build a mega refinery, to take you 2 to 3 years. So how are we going to turn around from being a net importer to net exporter of petroleum products? If you talk of the involvement of the private sector, which the first thing should be that if we're going to do PPP scheme like they mentioned, we should then say that, look, within the next 6 months or 3 months, we're going to come up with a legal and commercial and regulatory framework that will define how the private sector will work with the public sector. When we did the privatization when we did the licensing of telecoms, we had a framework. We set up NCC. We populated NCC. Okay? And then we gave them a mandate. And there were defined timelines. You need to bid for a license and all those things. We need to get back to that. If we're going to involve private sector in key asset management or construction, what is the legal framework? What's the regulatory framework? What's the commercial framework? Who will supervise them so that you have an arm's length relationship with them? And then, what kind of assets will qualify for private sector to invest? Is it going to be the rail, or is it going to be the road network? So we need to get to that so that when you define timelines and say, look, within these 6 months, we're going to have this legal and regulatory framework. And then we will auction the corridors, if it's road corridor you want to
So
see.
everything is very clear
It's
to
very
everybody.
clear. So
Okay.
we will be able to track the progress
Okay.
towards the achievement of the plan.
Okay. Now, Mr. Teriba, you mentioned something which I consider very, very important. You mentioned ease of doing business. We're talking about investors coming in. We heard in the course of the week how difficult it is to get visas to come into Nigeria. When they come into Nigeria, how long will it take them to register their companies? Some countries who are now open for business, which is one of their slogans, they tell you that you can register your company within 24 hours. What about the money they're going to invest? They bring their money in, invest it, and they can't take their money out. All these are things we need to look at, are they not?
Right, that part I have said, and it is true, is receiving the attention of government at the highest level. I know of a council that's been created, chaired by the Vice President himself, and there was a release this week of a 60-day target for changing so many of these
Issues.
attributes that you mentioned. So that component, I believe, has been, in the past year, has been receiving attention on an inter-ministerial basis, and I expect that you will see difference. But my concern is that that's good to put on the table, but you also have to expand the number of sectors in which foreign investors can do business in Nigeria. That's the key problem. You've liberalized oil and gas.
Okay.
You've liberalized telecoms. You've liberalized services, hotel, and so on. But you haven't liberalized some of the biggest sectors. Like power transmission, you have not liberalized. Like rail, it still has